It goes back there somewhere. Oh, now it's on. Okay.
Yeah, that was a yes. I said, yeah.
All right, we're ready.
I'm just waiting for the secretary to get one piece of information from upstairs. 7:07, I'm having like, just a little, there, oh, good. Excellent.
Do we
All
ready
right.
to get, do I get started?
Yes, red means on, right? Yes. Okay. I hereby announce in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, that adequate notice and electronic notice of this meeting has been transmitted on January 12th, 2022, and then again on October 13th, 2022, by the Secretary and / Planner to the Asbury Park Press, Independent, Two River Times, and the posted, I added that / Planner, by the way, the Two River Times, and posted on the Township website at www.holmdeltownship.com. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military who have been wounded or killed in action, and for first responders and police officers who keep us safe each and every day. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Girl after my own heart.
You'll be over there tomorrow.
Oh, is that we sit on that side of
I
it?
don't know why they do it.
Well, you could just, I don't,
Sometimes here too.
It doesn't matter to me, but it's.
I don't care what side you
They
sit
put
on.
me
You could
on a different
sit,
side.
you could sit wherever you want, Marty.
I like being on your left side.
Okay, you're my left side guy. Roll call, please.
Sure. Ms. Alfieri Collins,
Here.
Mr. Ackerson,
Here.
Mr. Lucarelli is not here, Mr. Emma,
Here.
Dr. Gilstein,
Here.
Mr. Capping,
Here.
Mr. King,
Here.
Ms. Plusas,
It's going to be a few minutes late.
2 minutes late, okay. Mr. Nicholas is not here, and Ms. O'Connor is not here. Doing the work.
You forgot me, but I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
I'm here. That's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Our first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for 39 Main Street LLC, relief of conditions for bulk C variance 2022-6R, Block 13, Lot 19/39 Main Street. Proposal to install one 5-foot by 6-foot, 30 square foot, because that's the multiplication of that, double-sided sign to be located in front of the existing building to be set back a half a foot from the front of the property line, 10 feet from the curb line, and 2 internally illuminated facade signs, each measuring 3 feet by 4 feet, 3 feet 4 inches by 10 feet, which is 33 square feet, along the northbound side of Main Street and west of Holmdel Road in the B1 district. Welcome. For the record, if you could state your name.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Rick Brodsky. I'm with the law firm of Ansel, Grimm & Aaron on behalf of the applicant, 39 Main Street, LLC, otherwise known as the home of Advisors Mortgage, who is currently occupying the property. 39 Main Street is a related entity to Advisors, and it's, like I said, the current location for an office of Advisors Mortgage. Notice?
Yep, so, okay, everything,
Yes,
notice
we
is good?
received the notice and everything is in order.
Okay.
All escrows are paid?
Yes.
Since the first time we're hearing this, does anybody have a conflict with the applicant or the attorneys or anybody associated with this application? None? Do you know of any?
I know of none.
Okay.
Okay.
Other than I know you for a long time.
Thanks. So anyway, Madam Chair, members of the board, so the property that forms the subject matter of the application is located at 39 Main Street over in the Village. It's the prior location. I think the last occupant prior to Advisors was a florist that got approvals back in 1995 to do some work on the site. 39 Main Street / Advisors purchased this property back in 2018, and and undertook a significant renovation of the building and the parking lot, and finally got the CO issued in December of '21, and moved into the site, into the location. It's a very old building, and as a result, there's a pre-existing nonconformity. There are a number of them, but the most relevant here, I think, is the proximity of the building to the front property line. The building is located, as it exists today, I think it's about 2.5 feet from the front property line. So that's sort of one of the hurdles we're trying to overcome in terms of getting some identification for the building. Right now, if you pass by, you'll see it's kind of an unmarked building, but the good thing is that when you look at it, once you hit the property line, there's a lot of right-of-way that exists between the front property line and the curb. So there's almost 10 feet or more of unused grass right-of-way, in front of the building. So which helps substantially and significantly. And so what's primarily driving the application, of course, is the desire to identify the site, identify it, in a safe enough fashion that passers-by can see it, know what's there, and make a turn into the property. And so really the only location, that works primarily is that front location, and so when you see it, it's located very close to the front property line because there's nowhere else for it to go. But we have the benefit of that additional right-of-way, which I think helps for safety and visibility and placement. And the other facade signs that are proposed are also an effort to try and get some identification of the building. So there are variances associated with the application because there's really no legal place to put a sign on the property, given the existing location of the property, of the building itself. So what I'd like to do is, unless the board has any other questions, I'd like to have Ron Kanoyan, who's the sign company representative, step up, and who designed the plan, and he can walk the board through what's proposed as part of the application.
Okay. You're going to have another witness too, Mark, or just?
I have the property owner and vice president of advisors if we need them, but we
Want
can
to
go
swear
ahead and
both at the same
get
time?
sworn.
So-
Before we do that, just for the record, Mrs. Bluehouse has arrived 7:15.
So, and on our professionals as well, if everyone just raises their right hand, does everyone swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? For the record, the applicant's witnesses and the board's professionals were sworn in, and we'll go through their CV
Yes.
when you call them.
Thanks, Mr. Flager. Okay, so Ron, if you want to come forward here, I'll make it easier for you. You can sit here. Okay, Ron, you've been sworn in. Can you just real briefly, for the record, describe for the board who you are?
Yes.
Your background experience.
My name is Ron Kanoyan. I work for Gertain Sign Company in Toms River. I've been working there for 18 years, started in manufacturing and installation, and I do primarily sales and project management.
Great. Could you spell your last name for us, please?
Kinoian.
Thanks. And if you would, Ron, just walk the board through, you prepared the plans, the sign plans that were submitted as part of the application, correct?
So, correct, yes.
Okay. And if you could just walk the board through the plan that you prepared. You heard that I had given a little background and overview with regard to the proposed placement and kind of the restrictions and hurdles we have in terms of placing an identification sign. But if you could just walk the board through the plan and the thought process behind it, that would be great.
Sure. So back in early 2019, we started this project trying to figure out what we could put on the property, on the building to sign this new office for Advisors Mortgage. Every other location, approximately 10 of them, they have large signs, very visible, easy to read. They're a big, a big a lending company with a lot of visibility. So I had made a phone call to Lonnie back in 2019 and found out that there wasn't much I could do. The property was too small. We couldn't put a freestanding sign. The only sign that we could put was parallel to Main Street, and high where it was, which would be pointless at that point. So we decided, the client decided to move forward with a variance, and the only options I could come up with were the sides of the building perpendicular to Main Street and or the actual freestanding sign that could fit just between the building and the property line itself. This particular sign, the 5x6, we've done in Toms River on Hooper Ave, and it was literally a cookie cutter. They liked it. I pulled it in. I knew it worked for them, so this is why we came up with this particular one. That's not to say that, it can't be modified in some way to make it a little bit more, lower to the ground, or a double pole system or something like that. So it's modifiable, but it's ideally the size that they would like to go for.
Do you have an extra copy? Do we have an extra copy?
Do I have A? How many A's do you have?
Okay.
Oh, he's on that side.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Came up on the other
Oh,
side.
here's
of my map.
the building as
Came
well.
up like the church.
It's the building one.
And Ron, I understand if you could talk about the lighting, the internal illumination. I know that the applicant is flexible on that as well, in terms of having the option of ground mounted.
Yes.
External lighting as well.
So these signs are designed for internal illumination. We use low voltage LED. It's just the way the industry is going right now. Instead of fluorescence or neon, everything is low voltage LED. Ideally, I prefer to build signs that light from the inside out, primarily because when you put lights on the ground, they get destroyed by plows and landscapers, and they look haphazard in 6 months to a year after you go through the season. So ideally, the sign that lights from the inside is the most visible. So I did not present a ground lit sign here because I didn't have any guidelines to go with. There was no sign permitted, so I just kind of picked what we've done previously. That's not to say that it couldn't be turned into a non-illuminated sign that lit from the ground. That is an option as well. I mean, everything is modifiable when it comes to the sign.
And talk a little bit, Ron, about the location for the proposed freestanding sign in the front.
So I'm a symmetry person, so I always like to center the signs on the building. I try and find a mark on the building that isn't far away from the entrance. Right now I have it centered on the picture window that's in the front there. It's not a very wide building, but there's a large picture window there, and it is centered on that space, which puts it approximately 6 inches off the actual property line and approximately 2 feet off the building. So it would be a good 10 and a half feet off of the curb where it meets the street.
So based on that location and the decades that you've been doing this, just talk a little bit about visibility, one, with regard to motorists passing by and potential customers, and then secondly, those who are pulling out of the driveway.
Sure. So when it comes to the size of the sign, obviously the text, the letter height is the most effective. Obviously larger, closer to the road. People traveling 30, 40 miles an hour on the road need to be able to identify the actual business, without being right on top of the sign, because then that causes issues where people are turning in and out of the driveways erratically or bypassing the driveway and spinning around down the road. I've centered the sign on the building. I don't necessarily want to put it right near the entrance to the driveway or to the actual inlet. There's only one road leading into the property, and it's shared both in and out. I wanted to give enough time for people to recognize when they turn off the cross street. I can't remember the cross.
Holmdel Road.
Okay, when they turn off of that they can recognize that the entrance is right after it. It's a weird property because it looks like it actually shares a parking lot with the property next to it, but there's really a curb between the two blacktop areas. So, you got to recognize that, oh, this is the advisor's building, this is the entrance, because there's no grass area after their entrance. It goes right into blacktop. I'm sorry, the
And then
second
pulling
question.
out of the,
Oh, yes, pulling out. So I set it with a 3-foot ground clearance from the grade to the bottom of the sign. Most vehicles are when you're driving, you're about 3 to 3.5 feet off the ground. And while it is set back 10 feet from the curb, if anybody starts to look at the oncoming traffic, they can see under the sign. I'm not overly worried about that because at the setback, the 10.5 foot, people are going to creep up to turn out onto the road anyway. They're going to pass the sign and be able to see the oncoming traffic with no issue in terms of where the sign is located on the proposal.
and then speak for a moment, if you would, with regard to the facade signs that are proposed.
Ideally, this was really if we can get the facade, if we can get the ground sign, we would like the ground sign. That's our primary request, the ground sign. If we were shot down for the ground sign, our tertiary request would be the building. We need some sort of recognition on the building.
Right,
Right.
right. So the most important and the most logical and the most effective, I would assume, would be the freestanding sign in front.
Correct.
At a size that's safely visible.
Correct, yes.
Ooh, God bless you.
God bless.
Thank you. So, but right now you're proposing all three?
That's in the application because we didn't know what to submit for.
Is there a picture of the other side?
Yes.
Which other one?
Yeah, I think he means the facade sign.
It's not in
You
the
only got the freestanding
I only
one?
have the freestanding. And I only, is these the same copy? I only need one. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we give them all freestanding. Okay.
Questions for Mr. Kanoyan?
So the term, I think, is site triangle, so
Mhm.
that you can see going in and out.
Yes, there is no site triangle listed on this site plan, but, because you wouldn't be able to put a sign in that, obviously, if there were, but, yeah, this is clear of any site triangle.
I have a couple of questions. You keep referring to 10 feet off the road, but it says it has to be 25 feet back from the road. Is that correct? And you're only a half a foot off of the property line.
Correct, that's one of the
So
variances.
it's not 10 feet. It's actually only half a foot
Correct,
from
yeah.
the property line when it's supposed to be 10 foot from the property line.
Correct.
That's issue number one for me.
Yes.
And number two, are you aware of all of the signs along 520, the real estate signs, other basic real estate offices, are all ground lit? There is not one illuminated sign along that stretch of Holmdel Village. The only one sign that is illuminated is the Exxon sign, internally illuminated, I should say, is the Exxon sign, Exxon station. And that is actually turned off, I think, at 7 o'clock when the gas station closes. So having internally illuminated signs is a big problem for me in the bucolic section of Holmdel Village. And number two, the fact that you want 3 signs when the zoning is only for 2 signs, I have a concern with that as well.
Okay. As I stated before, we had no guidance. I was told by the zoning department I have to go for a variance, and after speaking with the tenant, the client of the property, we're here to negotiate. I had no other recourse on what to design for the building. So,
I totally understand that you want to advertise your building, but one other comment would be, you mentioned if it was ground lit, you would be concerned about landscaping or snowplow, but the sign's only 3 feet off the ground anyway. So if it's going to get hit by snowplow, a ground lit light's going to get hit by snowplow, it's going to hit the sign anyway, right?
Well, yeah.
So the position of that sign in front is also an issue for me.
the position in relation to the setback from the right-of-way?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's the only location that is feasible. That's why I was mentioning, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear, that's why I was mentioning the 10 feet. The 10 feet is right-of-way. The 10 feet is from the distance from the front property line to the curb.
But 25 feet is required. Kate, correct me if I'm wrong.
25-foot setback, but we only have a half a foot setback.
Yes.
Right, and I was just saying, half a foot to the property line. What's required is a 25-foot setback from the property line. We don't have that. The building is only 6.9 feet from the property line. I was just saying that in terms of practicality and functionality, it's not like we're proposing a half a foot from the property line and then there's the curb. We're proposing half a foot from the property line, clearly a variance situation. But what I think aids and supports in the request and the functionality and the visibility is the fact that we have that additional right-of-way for cars to clear in terms of visibility.
So clearly, the zoning is there for a reason. It's too small of an area for a sign that big, right?
Well, I think, Madam Chair, if the board would like, I can go through a little bit about, what has happened on this site and, why we're here now, because I know the board does not typically hear standalone sign variance applications. So let me just. I promise I won't talk too long. So this, the prior tenant, owner of this property, et cetera, came to the planning board in, what year was it? 1995. And at that time, a florist shop was considered a conditional use. So they received a conditional use permit from the board. And as a result of that conditional use approval, even though, it wasn't technically a variance for that, they did need a sign variance at the time. And one of the conditions of approval that was placed at that time was that the sign would be limited to no signage shall be permitted other than the freestanding post sign in front in conformance with the plan submitted. And that was a 2 by 3 foot non-illuminated sign on a post, or externally illuminated sign on a post that was 4 foot height, 4 feet in height maximum. So when this came to the board, when this application came in, I think the question was whether this applicant required a relief from that condition. This is not my opinion as a planner is that no, they do not, but because this is a new applicant, but this is a property that, the planning board, can retain some jurisdiction on because they had previously regulated the sign. So that's kind of the basis there. And so the applicant and Mr. Brodsky are correct, which is that this property is very small. It has a lot of pre-existing nonconformities, which include but not limited to the area, the width, the setback, et cetera.
It's already not setback. It's already
Yes.
non-conforming in its setback.
It's already, the building itself is non-conforming in the setback. It's just less than 7 feet.
This is the old Holmdel Florist, right? And there
Yes.
was always the wooden sign out front.
Yes, yes, and that was,
Old cracked olive.
Yes.
and that was 2 by 3 feet, and that was set back. I don't know the exact dimensions. It was, I will say just from looking at, prior aerial maps and et cetera, that was set back approximately the same distance as this applicant is proposing.
This
So-
sign is proposed to be,
A half foot from the property line.
but size-wise significantly.
Oh, excuse me. This is supposed to be 5 by 6 or 30 square feet, where that sign was 6 square feet.
Right.
Yes. So, that, I think, the questions are, obviously, we understand, or, I understand it from a planning perspective that this is a tough site to put a sign on. It's undersized. The ordinance does not even allow freestanding signs. The ordinance does not, it does not allow freestanding signs for properties under an acre in area. And so that's when Mr. Kanoyan is referring to the fact that, there wasn't really any guidance, and I understand where he's coming from with that. So, so this property would be permitted a maximum of 2 wall signs. Neither of them could be more than 40 square feet in area. But they are not permitted 3 signs, and they are not permitted a freestanding sign. So it is a unique situation in that sense.
In your opinion, if another florist moved in and just took the word Holmdel Florist out and put Damaso Florist in the same spot, there would be no reason to be here?
Or any type of building,
So
actually.
they just
because
changed the sign
it's
to...
the signage, yes, because they did receive a CO, they did site work, all of which was, permitted by zoning permit, by construction
No,
permit.
no, I'm not I'm not disagreeing that the sign is
If
too
this
big.
applicant had come in and was happy to keep the existing sign and put advisor's mortgage on the existing sign, they wouldn't be here tonight.
Fine, that's my question,
Yes.
thank you.
Right. Do
So
you have
there, yeah.
any understanding of how large are the other signs in the village?
Just based on review, there obviously is the Exxon sign, which is an outlier.
Well, that's an outlier.
But when you typically look at most of similar, because obviously there's a lot of professional offices, it's small
Right.
scale. The majority are, I would say, between 6 and 10 square feet would be my estimate, 6 and
Okay.
15. Most are not illuminated
All
internally.
ground lit.
Yes.
I live in the area, so I know it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't, there are some differences, there's, for example, Coldwell Banker next door has a facade sign that's a little larger. But there are, typically you do see a type of kind of a post-mounted lower sign for professional offices
With the
in this
spotlights.
area. Yes. Mhm.
When would these signs be lit all night long?
I'm sorry?
When would the signs be lit all night long or?
I mean, honestly, they can be controlled via timer or photocell, whatever you guys, the board wishes.
Well, it would certainly not be allowable all night long. We make everybody turn their lights off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We usually make everyone turn their lights off.
I would also note that with regards to the site triangles, I know that was mentioned, or that traffic safety reviewed it, they had no comments. And again, the existing sign is in a similar location in terms of its setback. Obviously, the size is not the same, but the setback is similar, or the previously existing sign. So yeah, I mean, for the board, it's really, they're asking for 3 signs. A freestanding sign is not permitted. They're asking for the setback. I think really the question is, how does this fit into the purpose of the village business district, which is what this is located in, which is really to recognize these small neighborhood services. And also, reviewing and also the village business district purpose also does give the board, there's not necessarily architectural guidelines, but it does give the board some, it directs the board to review some of the architectural features of structures and accessory structures in comparison to the surrounding area.
So maybe to keep it simpler, but they want to change the sign that's there now.
It's already been eliminated. Yeah, it's not there.
No.
Yeah. Mhm.
Let's pretend it is.
Okay.
They want to change the sign that would be currently there
Yes.
to a sign that's much bigger and illuminated.
Yes.
And they want to add 2 signs to the building.
Mhm.
So that what they need, because there's all this other superfluous stuff going on, right? What we really are talking about is a lighted sign that's much bigger than was there and 2 signs on the building. Which is also, but now, there's no other building that have a sign on the walls itself, right?
Coldwell Banker does.
But it's not illuminated.
I believe it is illuminated.
I believe it is too, just from.
I don't know what
haven't
time
seen
it
at
goes
night. I
off.
don't know the times, but I mean, just anecdotally, I don't recall seeing it driving through, 7:30.
According to the resolution, it's supposed to go up by 11.
Yeah, lighting would not be an issue, and really, like Kate had said, we were trying to propose all options, and the applicant understands that 3 signs is really not going to pass muster. The most important driving force of this is to get some identification, get it safe, and we think that the best way to do it is the freestanding sign in the same location as the previously approved one. Even if it's not the size that we propose, just something a little bigger than the 2x3, so that it can be seen and seen safely. And if
It's not entirely illuminated,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, they're not wedded to the
Not
internal
trying to change it.
illumination.
Well, I don't disagree. You need to give people enough warning to go.
Right.
You have to turn, it's a very, because before it was a florist, you
Yeah.
didn't probably have as much traffic as you would have now, but, you know, Joyce is showing us a picture of what it looks like now, and it's really a hodgepodge of signs, even though none are illuminated, they're not, one matches the other.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree with that, yeah.
So, I mean, that really should be, and it's not your problem.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It really should have, that's what we should be regulating, what it looks, you know, like certain, if we're going to keep the village,
Right.
like,
and-
we should have kept them all.
This looks like it should be on Route 35.
Well, no, this
Right,
particular
this-
sign, I agree with, doesn't necessarily fit into, the illumination of the sign doesn't fit into the,
As well as the
Right,
size.
without without a
three.
strict sign ordinance, without, you know, I mean, without, you know, design standards in which, you know, there's pros and cons to all of that, it is hard to keep.
yeah. It's just
And you don't
odd,
want
'cause
everything to look exactly the same, obviously.
Well,
But,
within reason, you want it to
well,
look
yes,
uniform
you want
in
it
the
to have
sense,
you want
right?
it to have a character.
Right.
So,
We did give relief in the past, that I've been here to, both the pharmacy and where the
On Holmdel
Connect
Road.
One Bank used to have, their ground mounted, would have nameplates on them. I don't know if that is permitted, but they have nameplates, they have multiple tenants. So there is some things that we've done, that I've been here, that building owners have gotten relief.
right, and I would also note, you know, and I don't know how far back a lot of these approvals may go, but the majority of the professional offices that have freestanding, you know, small ground-mounted signs are under an acre in area and are not technically permitted. So those
But
are either.
the buildings are farther off the street, though. There's
Some
no.
are, some
Some are,
aren't.
some aren't.
Yeah, some are, some aren't.
Every business deserves to advertise their business. But I also, and I feel that if you're driving, you're looking forward, and therefore you have a good line of sight. When you're looking up like this, and there is a sun glare sometimes on 520, depending on which way.
When you're going straight
and you're
west.
like this, and you're like, does anybody see a sign? Do you know where we're at? So I do believe that something should be in front of the building.
Yeah, and the applicant is flexible on that, and you're absolutely right. That's really what's needed here. And I think even, believe it or not, even aesthetically, it cries out to have a sign in front of this otherwise kind
No,
of
I think, you know, and if we
nameless,
want to be,
faceless
if we
building.
want to
Well,
be
yeah.
business friendly, we
Yeah.
welcome, thank you for coming to our town and paying taxes, and could be an empty building instead, so we're happy to have you, but I don't disagree that the illumination is probably a little bit too much for the village area. Certainly on the building itself might not be terrible, for at night for a little bit of advertising, but, you know, I do think we should have them go off, well, let's find out when Coldwell Bankers go off. That gas station closes at 7? Oh,
Not
wow.
asking for on the building. He said it
Okay, Jay, thank you, we are not part of the board, so when it's your turn, I will definitely let you talk.
Why are we entertaining that? They don't really.
Jay?
Jay? it's not
Thank
your
you.
turn to talk. So I'm looking at the custom tailor sign is a good model that would be appropriate.
Right,
It's
That's
like,
a beautiful sign.
right,
You
so
know,
it's,
it's in
what
keeping
size-
with the
do we know what
village.
size that is? I mean, so that you
you know,
can
it
see it,
looks
we
like it's
understand.
about 2.5 by 3.5 or something.
Can I present
Is my guess. It's probably about 30 inches by
the packet of the
40.
You know, it's hard, it's hard to tell for me.
From a sign,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes,
But-
I think that, you know,
But, you know,
can.
that looks like in keeping with the village.
Right, and I would say just a couple of things.
Custom tailor, is that what you said?
Yeah,
That's a
custom
very
tailor.
pretty sign, and it's
Can you show them?
noticeable, and you show it.
Yeah, so here's a good template for, this is on the other side of Holmdel Road. But design something like that.
That's a wonderful.
You don't need this.
May I approach the board with an alternate?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay.
About a week ago, I,
Estimate what the size is of that.
it's hard to tell, it could be about 4 feet tall by 3 feet wide, maybe
Yeah,
12
that's
square feet.
what I figured.
Having gone by the locations in the past week, I did look at all the other signs. Like I said, we did this design based on, hey, let's try and get this sign approved, this is what you got at other locations. But I did redesign this proportionally down into 3 different sizes.
Okay.
And I mean, this particular size I'm going to show you works as well, but it's probably the smallest that you would want to go because of the phone number and the website and everything like that. So I'll bring copies up.
Okay, well, let me just mark these in as exhibits. Would you want to call these 3 separate exhibits, or?
What is it, one? Or how
This
many?
would be revision C.
Okay,
Right, so we'll mark it as exhibit
A1.
A1.
okay. Let me just stick this on here. Okay.
And while you're passing it out, what's the size of that sign, just so?
This is
Yeah, just keep it, I'll keep this one.
This is a 48 long by 40 inch high with an overall height of 70 inches. But once again, the trailer sign is up to the
So that would be 13 and a third square feet, which is significantly smaller
Oh, I
than
like
30
that better.
square
Okay.
feet.
What is it, what's the square footage?
13 and a third.
Hello.
Well,
you.
the road ends, but you don't realize it.
13 and a third square feet.
Which is what?
13.3.
Oh, on the A1.
Yes,
What we're going
yes.
to do. Yeah.
Ron, this is for sizing purposes. I know we keep coming back to illumination. I think the point is clear, you don't internal illumination.
Right.
So this is for sizing purposes.
Right, envision this size with ground lit.
Yes, I can make any one of these signs non-illuminated,
Okay.
ground lit. The reason I didn't propose ground lit, number one, I didn't know that's what you preferred. And second, I usually start with illuminated, internally illuminated. So everything is modifiable.
Right, well, you always ask for the most, and then you see where you end up. It's okay.
If the sign were
We've been doing this
ground,
a long time.
if the sign were ground lit, would it be closer to the ground?
I would most likely
Lower
bring it
down?
closer. Right now, I have it at 2.5 feet. 18 inches would probably be where I want to be ground lit.
Right.
Because the lights, they throw the light in a
You
certain
don't want
way.
to shine the light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate, it's your opinion that your preference is this one freestanding sign versus the 2 signs on the building?
Ideally, yes, the freestanding sign.
Okay.
Well, wait,
Preference.
no, his preference would be to have all 3.
Well,
All illuminated. Yes, right, that's what his preference is, right?
Yes.
In light of the comments, our preference
Yes.
is
Right,
changed.
right,
Yes.
so he's willing to accommodate not asking for the 2 on the building.
yeah.
But the only other change that the ladies, and maybe the gentleman, I don't know, I didn't talk to that side. This is a single post. Most of the signs in the village are on a double post.
That's easily changed.
Yeah, so it just keeps a little bit, a little bit more villagey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
And does the board prefer an open base or a closed base?
Open meaning you could see through the 2 posts?
Yes.
I think open.
Yeah, it's fine.
Open is more
What if-
typical of
yeah.
the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because the way you can do it is by bringing it down to the 18 inches, I can either bring a shroud
Yeah.
covering the 2
Yeah,
poles
whatever, yeah. I
or
don't
put
think
the
we-
poles on the outside.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, 2 posts and open is fine on the bottom, right? Most of them are open.
Yes,
This-
yes,
As
they
you
are.
drive down 520, I can see.
Mhm.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? At this time, we'll take questions from the public. Jay? Please state your name and address for even though we all know you, for the record.
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive, also senior representative from Safe Holmdel Village. That's my interest here. Thank you for being pretty rapidly open to... Is that from me? No, okay. Thank you for being rapidly open to not putting up those 3x10 signs, because they remind me of like boardwalk signs when you're walking down the boardwalk at Seaside. Thank you for being open to modifying the front sign. I have no problem with the front sign. I would have thought you would have started by looking at all the signs in the village and saying, oh, I realize you said, hey, let's see if we can get this, but I would have thought you would have looked at the others and had come in straight there. No, it's more of a comment, sorry.
No, it's
So
all
I
right.
hope
With
the
this-
board, I'll wrap
Does
up.
anybody else have questions? All right, you can do questions and comments.
I'll wrap
You're
up
the only one
saying, I
here.
hope the board goes with the front single sign, ground
Sure,
lit,
that's what we-
looking like the other signs. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have the second sign the smaller of the 2 signs that you gave us? This is 13.3 square feet, is still way bigger than what's still allowed,
Well, we,
right?
No.
Twice as big as what's
The
allowed.
smallest design was 48 by 40.
48 by 40.
Yeah.
But it's still too big, correct, Kate?
Well,
Well, no sign is actually
No sign.
no sign is actually permitted here. And again, this is just for the board's reference, but this I think might be useful as kind of a guideline, which is that for things like places of worship, libraries, parish houses, government buildings, etc., one ground sign may not exceed 12 square feet in area. And so I think, obviously this is not a house of worship or any of those things, but there are several in the vicinity, and that might be, kind of a guide that the board.
Well,
could
there's,
look
down the
at.
road is a big, tall sign. I mean, the signs are
Yes.
not uniform, and most of the
Right,
signs are
right.
probably
So
around 12 to 13
I'm using that as an
square feet. Yeah.
example to say that I think that the 13.3, that's a sign like that would be permitted here. So I think 13.3 is
I think
more in
that's
line.
reasonable
Yeah.
enough. He stated that in order for to see it as they're driving, I got enough to do without, picking people up off the side of the road because they're looking for advisor mortgage.
So it'll be the smaller sign with two posts, open, ground lit.
Correct. Correct. Did you have a height restriction? Right now I have it at 70. I could drop it to a foot and a half from ground to bottom of the sign.
Whatever, everybody's good with the 30 inches off the ground?
Well, the top would be 52 inches.
Okay. No, we're fine the way it's presented, just with two posts instead of
Okay.
one.
It's a 40 by 48 with a 30-inch height off the ground to the bottom of the sign. Yeah. Oh,
It's
70.
70 inches.
So that's 5 feet 10 inches.
It is kind of high.
now, right, but I thought you were going to drop it.
I just want guidance.
You drop it 18.
Joyce, stand up. It's as tall as Joyce. Need a visual?
Yeah.
18 inches, and then it will be...
You want to do 24 inches? I don't know, I just don't want it to be...
I can do 18, 24. It's
I don't want it to lose its proportion either.
well,
Right.
the sign itself, the body of the sign won't change. I would say I wouldn't want to go below 18 professionally. That would be where.
Exactly, I think if you lose scale, it's going to be unattractive.
So why don't we go in the middle and say 24?
I heard that somewhere.
I prefer 18.
I think, Mr. Cano, did you indicate earlier that the fact that it would be kind of like double, adding the second post will sort of kind of
Well, more
kind of
so.
create a scale, so you would be able to drop it down a little more?
Well, yeah, adding the post doesn't really change the scale. It's because we're ground lighting it now, bringing it a little bit lower would be better because it's just the way the lights are shining.
18.
If you're fine with 18, then so are we.
So 18, which would mean that the total height would be 58.
Okay.
58, correct.
Yep.
And double pole.
None.
58 by 48.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion to that effect, please?
Okay, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve a double post ground lit 58 by 48 size sign with an 18-inch lift.
Yeah, 40 by 48 with an 18-inch lift.
Okay,
Overall height, 58 inches.
Okay, that's. the
Second.
motion I made.
okay.
And just to clarify, the variances that are being requested now are to permit a freestanding sign and to permit a freestanding sign to be set back half a foot from the property line where 25 feet is required.
Okay, I'd like to include that
Yes.
in my motion.
Just to
And are you
clarify.
okay with amending with your second?
And no
Okay.
facade.
And
Yes.
there
They've
won't be any
eliminated
signs on the facade?
Yes, they've eliminated the variance for the number of signs.
Yes.
Okay,
I amend my second.
okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerson,
Yes.
Ms. Alfieri Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Emma,
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein,
Yes.
Mr. Hasning,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Pusas,
Yes.
and Chairperson Damaso.
Yes. I don't mind.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your amenability. Is that a word?
Sounds good.
Right,
What
very
happened to
good.
the pencil? Oh, there it goes. Works now.
All right, happy signing.
No, it works. I got it. Okey dokey. Now for my friend John Junko. Item number 2 on the agenda. Thank you, Rick. Item number 2 on the agenda is completeness waivers for the Polo Club Restaurant. It's an amended and preliminary final major site plan, 2022-5. It's Block 15, Lots 1 and 2.01 at 216 Highway 34. proposal to construct a one-story rear banquet hall addition and a two-story front private dining addition to an existing restaurant and banquet facility in the B2 Neighborhood Business District. New freestanding signs, here we go again, off existing restaurant and banquet facility in the B2 neighborhood. Bulk C variance relief is required related to front yard building setbacks from Pleasant Valley Road and a number of setback of freestanding signs. There's a typo, but we got it. Hello.
Mr. Chairman, John Junko appearing, Giordano Halloran, Cecil appearing on behalf of the applicant. Excuse me. We have a permit, a review of some waivers first, and but I can describe the application, or do you want me to wait?
Maybe do the application next. So the completeness waivers, all right, this is the first time we're hearing this one also? Okay.
Until we start the hearing.
Okay. All right,
So it's incomplete.
completeness waivers. Is there anything you don't agree with in what's been requested for completeness waivers?
No, we accept the request and in fact request the board to approve the waivers.
Okay. So, Bob, do you have anything?
No, we have no objection to the list of waivers that have been requested. So if the board requires any information during the hearing process, it can be requested.
Okay, Kate, anything?
Nothing for me.
Okay, so can I have a motion to deem the application complete? Thank you. With respect to Bob Mullen's letter of September 20th, those items will be completed as well. So,
Second.
who moved it? You did? Second?
Second.
Okay, Zach. Roll call, please.
Sure. Mr. Ackerson?
Yes.
Ms. Alfieri Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Emma?
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein?
Yes.
Mr. Kastning?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Cluzas?
Yes.
And Chairperson Damaso.
Yes. Okay, now we can move forward on the same item, but for the public hearing. Item 3, Polo Club Restaurant, amended preliminary final major site plan, 2022-5, Block 15, Lots 1 and 2.01 at 216 Highway 34. Proposal to construct a one-story rear banquet hall and a two-story front private dining addition to an existing restaurant and banquet facility in the B2 Neighborhood Business District. New freestanding signs, off-street parking, and related site improvements are also proposed. Bulk C variance relief is required relating to the front yard building setback and other setbacks of freestanding signs. This is the first we're hearing of this application, so are all escrows in order? Kate?
Yes.
And all noticing is in order?
Yes, all the
Notices are in order as
Okay.
well.
Does anybody on the board see a conflict have a conflict with the applicant or any of their attorneys? Okay, no. Mr. Junko, do you know of any conflicts?
Not tonight.
Okay, Mr. Junko, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. As you may know, or hopefully you've been to the Polo Club, but our client is trying to operate a fine dining facility, but he's learned that since the pandemic, that to operate a restaurant like that successfully, they need to have an additional function for banquets. So this is sort of a business requirement for this restaurant to continue, but it also is an expansion to serve some of the market that our client identifies in the township. There's no real facility like this available in Holmdel. Of course, there's plenty in Red Bank, but why would you want to go there anyway? But having said that, this application has been before the board on several occasions because this facility started out, I'm going to even say, when I was in high school at CBA, all the guys wanted to go out and park cars at the Pleasant Valley Inn on the weekends because they got big tips. But it was Pleasant Valley Inn, it became Remington's, it was a Froggy something or other, and then Mr. Bahadorian was able to buy it and created the Polo Club. And I don't know if you've managed to be in there, but my wife made me take her Sunday, and the interior came out better than we would ever expected. And my recommendation is when Mr. Bahadorian comes up to speak, don't ask him about all the thinking that went into it because we'll be here a long time. But anyway, it really came out beautifully. That's my opinion, and I hope you can join in that. But basically, you've identified what we're looking for some relief. One of the things that you'll hear in the testimony is that our client has experienced that some of the customers are complaining that they come from the south along 34 North, and they go past the restaurant because they don't get to see a sign. And there was a sign there for Remington's that was right on Pleasant Valley Road that faced the intersection. We're asking to reinstate that sign. So with that, and with the expansions and a number of variances, I have several witnesses to explain the project to you. If I may, I'd like to first call, do you want to, Mr. Flager, you want to swear everyone at once?
Yeah, we'll swear everyone at the same time, so get that over with.
So I'm going to ask our witnesses to come up. This is Joseph Casiva, our engineer, civil engineer. James Montefiore, our architect. Andrew Janu, professional planner. And John Ray, our traffic engineer.
Swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. For the record, our professionals have already been sworn this evening, so. When they come up, just we'll introduce and spell their name and see.
Perfect. So we did receive the review letters.
Is Mr. Bahadorian going to offer testimony?
Yes, he is. I'm going to have to ask Mr. Bahadorian, maybe.
Just raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much, sir. Just that way you're done.
Okay. So I'm going to call Joe Casiva to go over what we're talking about changing on the site plan. The engineering in this is not very complicated, but we did get the review letter from Colliers, and I think at the end, Mr. Casiva will explain how we can comply with each of those requirements. So, Joe, when you're ready, introduce yourself to the board so that the record is clear, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about what you're prepared.
Absolutely. So to start, Joseph Kashuba, KBA Engineering Services, Manasquan, New Jersey. I prepared the site plan for the restaurant. I have testified before numerous boards in Monmouth and Ocean County, including this one. I'm a licensed engineer and licensed planner in the state of New Jersey. Testifying this evening as an engineer, and would ask that my credentials be accepted.
And I asked that also.
Mr. Kashuba, if you're going to speak at the easel, would you mind using the microphone?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, Joe, did you or others under your direction prepare the exhibits that have been submitted with the application that you're presenting to the board this evening?
Yes.
And in that regard, can you just identify for purposes of a record the property by lot and block and street address?
Certainly. So we are in Block 15, Lots 1 and 2.01. Actually, Lot 1.01 has been consolidated.
Was this part of the package?
So this, I should probably mark the exhibit. So this is sheet 3 of the package that was previously submitted, the layout plan,
Mark it anyway.
part of the jurisdictional package previously submitted. The only exhibit I have beyond the plans that have already been submitted, and it's only if absolutely necessary, as I do have the layout plan from the previous approval, if it's required.
Why don't we just mark it so that way it's marked and we're...
Absolutely. So that was sheet 3 of 8 of a site plan prepared by my office dated May 27th, 2016, and last revised December 19th, 2016.
Okay, so we have these two. If you need another one, we'll add it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, so, Joe, you've identified the location, and it's what's known as the Polo Club. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you describe the use?
Absolutely. It is a restaurant with ancillary office use or office space in there for the restaurant, but it's primarily a restaurant, and the proposal is to expand with a small banquet hall.
And we've gone. This site has gone, and this restaurant have gone through various and prior approvals.
Correct.
Have you researched that, and can you just mention to the board when those approvals were?
Certainly. So original approval was back in 1968 from historic aerials. The structure's been there since probably about the 40s. It appears to have been a restaurant since the 50s. The site plan approvals were 1968, 1988, and the most recent in 2015.
So now, can you describe to the board, let's go to number 11. Can you describe to the board the proposal before them this evening?
Absolutely. So we're proposing some changes to the site that previously exists. You see in the center of the page the existing restaurant area. Starting at the southerly end of the property, we are proposing a sign right at the southerly tip of the property where Pleasant Valley Road meets Route 34. As indicated, the applicant requests that sign because the only other sign on the site is at the northeasterly corner past the driveway. So vehicles entering Route 34 North get past the driveway before they see the sign. So we're trying to provide, for safety, an additional sign to identify the site so someone can make a proper decision to access the site before the entrance driveway. As far as on the property itself in the building, we're proposing a small expansion of the footprint in the northeast corner. Right now there's a coat room there. We're expanding that about 5.5 feet, 5.6 feet. That allows for a stairwell up to a second floor small banquet area identified on the architectural plans. That area is identified in the darker hatch. It's a small addition in that corner. On the western side of the property, we're proposing an expansion into what was previously some parking area and a little bit of the loading zone for a one-story banquet hall addition. That will extend past the existing outdoor courtyard area and up to the existing sidewalk. The parking lot will remain exactly as it stands today, with the exception of we're going to restripe that for some more proper handicap access. There will be a total of 109 parking stalls on the site, which is more than adequate under your ordinance and for the use. We do have the traffic expert who will provide more information regarding that, but we do have ample parking. The other minor changes to the site, we are proposing a new trash enclosure, and I do apologize, there's a comment in the board review letter indicating we still have the old trash enclosure detail on our plan. We are not proposing that, we're proposing what's on the architectural plan, and it's a rather nice trash enclosure, one of the nicest I've put on a plan. It's fully enclosed, it has a roof on it, it's essentially more of a shed to keep the trash inside and out of critters and smell or anything like that. And the recyclables will be on the side of that structure. So the intent there to try and hide everything as much as we possibly can. The operation of this site, they use rollaway cans. The applicant really hates dumpsters, and he will tell you about it. He wants individual rollaway cans that get cleaned after use regularly to keep a very tidy site and obviously keep out any rodents, any odors, anything. He runs a tight ship when it comes to that. So that's the intent of that refuse enclosure. The last small structure being added is a little greenhouse. The intent is he wants to grow his own herbs on the site. So it's a smaller area. We're identifying as 12 by 12. It would just be an open greenhouse. There's no seating or anything in there, just for growing of herbs. The other benefit of that is we are going to have a walkway around, so it does kind of buffer the view of the sewer station that's on the site. Anyone familiar with the site, it is fairly well hidden, but there is an existing prepackaged sewer station on the site, which has existed on the site since the inception of the restaurant and is fully operational and is also adequately sized for the expansion. Nothing changes with regard to that, but we do want to kind of buffer the view of it a little bit, and we felt a little greenhouse with herbs would help do that.
On the sewer plan, I would just like to make sure the board's aware the applicant or our client's obligated, and he maintains a licensed operator for the facility that reports to DEP on a weekly basis. That's the requirements, and that is kept in good operational order. Joe, further, you described a little bit about the access. Can you talk about the delivery access on Pleasant Valley?
Certainly. So the delivery access point remains exactly the same as it is today. The access is off of Pleasant Valley Road. That area is being reduced slightly to allow for the expansion. The curb width there remains the same. box trucks, SU-30, SU-40 type box trucks are the delivery vehicles that'll be used at this site. They're what's used today. What will be proposed, Cisco or those types of delivery services, they would pull past the loading zone and back into the loading zone, have full access to load and unload off of the traveled way, off the roadway. Can still operate and function as it does today. Currently, the existing loading area is a little bit larger, but encumbered by the trash enclosure and some parking. So now it will be part of the building.
Now, Joe, it's, my notes show that in 2006, the building area was approved by a predecessor board for 10,586 square feet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what is our proposed building size today?
The proposed building area is identified on the architectural plans.
That's 10,106?
I believe that's the existing. When you include the proposed, I believe it's 12,000.
Okay. Well, we'll have...
Or 13, the banquet hall is 3,100 square feet, so 10 and 3 is 13.
Correct.
They're also proposing some second floor addition.
Oh, is that what?
Correct. That's entirety of the
so then
area.
it would be
The entire first floor area is 12,069, and that's identified on the architectural
Yeah,
plans.
we can talk about this with the
Yeah,
architect,
this is
and stuff,
the
but
second
there's a
here.
discrepancy between the architectural plans and the engineering plans, which I figured was probably just came down to how each of your professions tends to measure buildings. We'll
Exactly. And I can testify that the number used for the parking calc is the larger number. So we were actually more conservative in our parking determination. Specifically, the parking requirement for this site is 83 parking stalls based upon the square footage. We have 109 stalls, so we are substantially over parked per your ordinance by about 26 parking stalls.
I just want to make sure that this is comment number 4 in my letter, which we'll get to, but my concern is I just want to have an accurate count of, what if I just want to be sure what the floor area on the site is, because you are getting close to your FAR.
And
so for the next application, if the board were to approve this, we just want to have a good record of what is actually built on the site, so we know.
And I have those numbers. I'm prepared to put those on the record.
Okay, excellent.
Well, why don't you do that right now?
I certainly can. So the first floor area, 12,069. The second floor area, 2,326. And the basement area, by your ordinance, any storage utilized in the basement is considered part of the floor area. That's 1,994.
Okay, and that sounds like that might be the discrepancy between the engineering and the architecture.
Correct. So we wind up with a floor area ratio of 0.19, which is compliant. 0.20 is permitted.
Yes, exactly. So we are getting close, but that's
I would say 0.19 and 20 is very close.
but they are under.
Close, but allowed.
Yep.
That was the first thing I checked with this application agreement. Can you just repeat that basement number again?
1,994.
Oh, 994.
Okay.
Is that 1,001?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so Joe, in review of your report, you received a letter from Colliers from Robert Mullen.
Yes.
You had a chance to review that?
I did.
And do you have any comments, or are you able to comply with the requirements? And I think there was a question about this confirming sewer and water capacity.
Yeah, so in general, we can comply with all of the requirements. I don't believe there's anything specific in the letter that we have any concerns about. There was a discrepancy, I believe, whether or not relief was required for a second sign. I believe we've determined by the ordinance that we're permitted the 2 signs, the 1 sign that exists and the proposed sign. The existing sign on the northeast corner was approved at 54 square feet and a 5-foot setback. 40 square feet is the maximum permitted. I believe the setback requirement is 15 feet, if I'm not mistaken. That was previously granted. That sign is there today. What we're asking for is relief for the southerly sign. That is less than 40 square feet, so it's compliant in area, but we are asking for a 1-foot setback. And that's unique on this property because it's kind of at the point, the southern point of the property. And the building exists in that location. although it's a 1-foot setback to the property line, it's actually 25 feet from the curb. So it is pretty far setback because the property line is truncated there. It's at probably the most innocuous point we could place it on the southern end, but we do require relief to place it there. And we do have, I believe we brought a photo, but we do have
Yes.
testimony that a sign previously existed there for the previous restaurant. I think it rotted and fell over, and we just never replaced it. So by virtue of that, we're asking for the relief, but we think it's probably a pre-existing nonconformity, but we're asking for full relief
Do you have
to
details
be
of what
safe.
the sign would look like, or is it going to be?
Yes.
Yes.
Andrew Janu has a photograph of it. The sign is actually there. It's not out. It's in one of the garages, but we put it out for an exhibit, which Mr. Janu, will when he comes up with planning, you'll be able to see it right where we want to put it, and I think you'll find it to be tasteful, just like everything else about this restaurant.
I would just note that, there may have been a sign there. The ordinance was changed about a year and a half ago to allow 2 signs on corner lots like this. There is a little bit of an error with codifying it online, which I noticed, but the ordinance does allow 2 signs here, and my opinion is that the board should look at this as a new sign. It's a new restaurant, the sign isn't there anymore.
Because
but-
even on the plans on 34, it only has a proposal for 1
Yeah,
sign.
they
It doesn't show the
they
second
don't show the
anywhere.
existing sign, which is a
Right.
comment that I have in my report. The
Okay.
existing sign is
saying
near
that also.
the property line with the farm property to the north.
Correct.
And
And
that is proposed to remain.
We'll show you that in a few minutes.
Yeah, and I do apologize, my surveyor did not identify that sign, so unfortunately wasn't shown. It was pre-approved, all variances for it were previously granted.
Will that be ground lit as well?
It's already ground.
It's already
It's already
grounded
grounded.
today, yeah. And the benefit is we do have both signs, they're created, the one is there, the other one is made and kept in a storage shed, so we're going to show you photos of exactly what those signs look like.
So I just would make a suggestion that you should trim those trees. That's part of the reason you don't see the sign. There's a lot of trees near it.
Understood?
Just for the record, what was the setback of the existing sign?
The existing sign is a 5-foot setback, and the proposed sign is a 1-foot setback.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, thanks.
So, Joe, we were talking about the report from Collier's.
Yes, so from the layout portion, section 1, we have no objection. Most of it is informational. The grading and drainage section, we agree and will provide the applicable approval from Freehold Soil Conservation District, and we'll provide a stormwater facility maintenance plan. Section 3 deals with access, circulation, and parking. It identifies the parking requirement, and we are in substantial compliance. Our traffic expert will also provide testimony regarding that. We agree that there'll be no impact to any of the access points. Item 4, Section 4, lighting and landscaping. Regarding the lighting, we can provide more detail specifically for the lighting in the loading area. The lighting in the parking lot is going to remain. We're not touching the parking lot other than restriping some ADA stalls. So that beautiful globe lighting that you see today is going to stay. We're not proposing any changes there. But the lighting in the loading area, we have provided that information, but it wasn't exactly clear on our plan. One thing I want to make sure the board is aware, we have no spillage past the opposite curb. We do have some spillage onto the roadway. Because it's commercial, we want to make sure that loading-wise, there's safety there for the loading area. In previous approvals, the testimony was that all lighting turns off without, well, the exception of security lighting. The lighting turns off an hour after closing. That was a condition of a previous approval, remains a condition now, and we will agree to that for the future.
And Joe, did you also, sanitary sewer and water was an issue also raised by Robert Mullen? That's
correct. So the sanitary sewer station there, I've been told by the applicant, does have adequate capacity. It is monitored by DEP. Reports are sent in weekly. There is a licensed operator for it. So obviously we'll comply with any requirements of DEP associated with that, but we don't have any concerns with that. The station is substantially oversized for the restaurant that's there today.
Could you explain why the lot coverage remains constant?
The lot coverage remains constant because most of this is loading, parking, and refuse enclosures today. And we are removing some area in the southern area. So when we totaled up the total impervious coverage, we showed that it is a balance.
Joe, there were a few comments.
And there was also, this area here in previous applications was to be enclosed. It was supposed to be building. Now it's an open lawn area, kind of a, what do I call that, the terrace area.
So when you count coverage, you're also counting the trash area and the greenhouse, correct?
Correct.
So Joe, in the planner's report, there were a number of questions. Did you have a chance to review those?
I did.
All right, can you address them? I think particularly, let's look at, there was a question to be pre and post square footage, which I think you've already addressed.
Yes, which item is that?
That's number 4 in my report.
Number 4? Okay.
Yeah, I think you actually just kind of touched on this, this is kind of related. But, you mentioned that some of the previously approved improvements have not been completed and will not be.
Correct.
So that's number 2 in my report, and that kind of goes to the question of impervious.
So why don't we go through that, Joe, so it's clear?
Absolutely. So some of the previous approval was a 2-phased approval for an expansion in this area where we're adding the second floor. So that portion was previously approved and constructed with the exception of that little 5-foot extension to allow for the stairwell. There was also an expansion proposed for the terrace area to make that all an interior space. That would become interior to the building, part of the restaurant, as well as an expansion into this terrace area with an expansion of the building. Those 2 areas were part of the Phase 2 approval that was discussed in the board planner's review. Those were not constructed. So those will remain outdoor areas in the proposed condition, and that expansion is now in that westerly section of the site.
Thank you. Yeah,
Joe,
obviously that was before my time, but for board members, if you looked at the thought, wow, it sounds like they're building even more, so that they are no longer going to be proposing articles previously approved.
Correct. So those specific portions will be taken out. We're not proposing those anymore. We're only proposing what's shown on the plan today. The last portion of the site that I forgot to mention is the terrace on the eastern side along Route 34. That was approved, as well as the pergola above it. The only change to the proposal, we identified proposed pergola with retractable awning. The only change now is the retractable awning. So a pergola was approved, but we want the ability to have some sort of retractable awning, probably between the pergola items. Just in rain, we can cover it a little bit and still utilize the outdoor seating. No intent to make that interior space or anything. Just want to be able to protect from the rain.
So Joe, there was also a comment about parking. Can you address the parking? And we also received a review letter concerning stop signs and bars and handicap parking.
Absolutely. So the parking remains the same layout with the exception of there were a few parking stalls where the addition is. Those were removed. We had a total removal of 6 parking stalls as a result of the application. And the previous approval did propose the handicap access and parking as we show on the plan today. We do intend to construct that. We do require 1 additional handicap stall. We did get a letter earlier today identifying that. We do, from traffic safety, correct. We do have room in this bank of parking, 16 parking stalls, to add that handicap stall and not lose any parking. So we will restripe that to have the 5th stall and still propose the 109 parking stalls without adding any more pavement.
And all the handicap spaces meet all the requirements necessary for the access?
Absolutely. Currently, the site is handicap accessible, but it does require pedestrians to come up a curb ramp at the front of the door. This will be a more proper access where they'll have access to a sidewalk and come around to the site.
And we've identified the greenhouses for herbs for the restaurant, and we've talked about the sign. Joe, we also had a request concerning stop signs and stop bars.
Correct. Traffic safety had a number of comments, specifically just compliance with the MUTCD, manual and uniform traffic control devices, to add stop signs and stop bars at exits, provide a short section of double yellow center line at the entrances, and a keep right at the island. We have no objection with any
And
of
that
those.
was all internal, that's all on our site.
That's all internal to the parking lot, just some additional traffic control devices. No objection there. The last was providing that fifth ADA parking stall.
Joe, I think we've gone through everything that you needed to address. Are there any open issues?
I believe that is it.
All right. So basically, if the board were to grant this application from an engineering and design perspective, do you see any negative impacts?
I do not.
It's all self-contained on this?
Everything is self-contained. It's a restaurant today. The traffic has not substantially changed, and I believe aesthetically, the architect will show you it's a beautiful addition.
Mr. Chairman, I have no other questions of Mr. Kasiba, so
Does anybody have any questions of the engineer?
I have one question,
Sure.
just one question. The proposed addition is approximately 2 tables for a total of 20 seats, but that one-story addition over the coat room is another private dining room for 12 seats. What's the need for that other one-story addition over the coat room? Because if you look at the plans, aesthetically, it doesn't, I thought maybe you raised it to make it look aesthetically appealing, but it doesn't seem, it still seems a little bit out of whack. So the question is, what's the reason for that private dining room above the coat room?
So I believe the architect will address this further, but I'm speaking with the
I
applicant.
wasn't sure who to ask that to.
Yes,
So.
certainly. Speaking with my client on multiple occasions, a small banquet area is beneficial for small dinners, private dinners. So the intent was, rather than put them in the corner of the banquet room, to have just a small space in that front corner for that. That area right now is 1 story. The expansion to 2 stories would line up with the roof line. The architect will provide a lot more information regarding that, but that was the intent.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there's 2 proposed new upper floor dining spaces. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the one over the coat room on the,
I had a
along.
question which I was speaking to the architect about the 2.
I didn't-
There's 2 of them in addition to the rear one. If you look on the architectural plans.
Okay, so why don't we have the architect?
I believe Mr. Montefiore could probably address all that.
I had a question about, you're going to add one more handicap parking space?
Yes.
But you're not going to lose any parking spaces. So
we
is that
will.
counting as part of the 109, or you're
Correct.
making
So
the other ones
we're just
narrower?
converting a standard stall to an accessible stall.
Oh, okay.
if there are no other questions for Mr. Kasiba, I'll ask Mr. Montefiore to come up.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casino.
Jim's already been sworn. Could you advise the board of your credentials and your licensing?
Yes, I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey since 1992. I have a architectural firm in Holmdel Township, New Jersey. We're 7 people strong. We do all kinds of buildings, from residential to restaurants to office buildings to high-rise buildings. We're well-versed at just about any building type there is.
I mean, often Mr. Montefiore is an experienced architect, well-known throughout Monmouth County and New Jersey, and ask him to be accepted as an expert.
Okay, anybody have an issue? Okay, thank you, sir.
Jim, all the exhibits and plans were prepared by you or others under your direction?
That's correct.
And we've marked this, what you put up, proposed addition for the Polo Club, as A3.
Yeah, and it's colorized version. So yeah, this is a view of the proposed addition, which is on the right, and this is the existing Polo Club with our addition to the left side of the existing door, where the stairwell would go up to the additional party room that's on the 2nd floor. This area here is the existing courtyard, and then we're creating a gateway that comes into this entrance courtyard, where there's a fountain with a polo rider, a very beautiful piece of art in the center there. So this will, if you're going to the banquet room, it would give you the ability to go directly into this center section and go to the banquet room without going through the bar and, having to bring kids through the bar. And it gives you your own separate space. And then this area here is where the tables are now, where there was a roof, and there's no longer a roof, just these awnings. We're also adding a cornice to the top of the building with corbels that stick out all the way around. This will be in the same color green, and mine's a little faded. I don't know what happened to it, but it's hunter green to match the windows that are there now. And then we're adding a mission tile roof over the new addition as well as the higher part of the addition. And also we're adding in the center of this garden / banquet room is a rounded skylight which actually rotates open on a nice day. So that's a nice feature for that room. So I have the square footages here. I don't know if you want me to go through those now, but I could walk you through the plan, I guess, first would make more sense. So when...
Just for the record, so, Mr. Mark, these are...
Yeah, this is the architectural set. You should have this.
So when you marked it,
page number of this.
Yeah.
Kate, you intended the entire architectural set to be A3?
No, it's just a set.
Just reference the page number.
Okay, this is A102. Yeah. Which is the first floor plan. So this area is the main entrance of the restaurant itself, which we had done these bathrooms in a recent renovation. And then we're adding this stair tower to go up to a second floor party room, which probably Mr. Bahandorian would probably explain to you better than I would about the purpose of the room, because this is his request. I'm just answering his request. But I believe he said that he gets a lot of requests for small parties in a private room, baby showers and stuff like that. And people want a little bit more intimate setting. So this is going to be a very beautiful room on the second floor with a nice intimate setting. Then this is the courtyard that's for dining off of the bar. And then this is our main entrance courtyard. Then I added this covered area with a glass front with doors going in. And from here you can go into the bar or to the right to the banquet room, or there's a set of stairs that take you up to the second small party room that's up here. This space is currently there. I'm not sure what it was originally used for because I came in on the project a little later, but it's going to be used for parties now. There's going to be a bar up here and a little party room up here, and we're adding 2 bathrooms for so you could use the bathrooms without going downstairs. And then you could see how we've dotted in the property line here just to show you how we tried to conform the properties on a skew so it's really generating the shape. And we tried to stay along the line outside of where you come out of the kitchen. We obviously needed a space to come out no matter what. So we pushed this out with a little service area. And then the access from the kitchen to the banquet room. There would be a bar there for the banquet room. And then there's additional bathrooms for the banquet area, so you don't have to go through the restaurant and use the restaurant bathrooms. So now what that does is the room upstairs has its bathrooms, and the room downstairs has its bathrooms, and then the restaurant has its bathrooms. So the next sheet is A103. Which gives you an idea of the second floor. This is our front banquet room. It seats 12 at a large table, and then there's stairs that come up to that, which there's windows that look out the front and out towards the street. And then this is the existing space that's above this area, and there's actually stairs that go down to the kitchen here, which we had to do a lot of stuff with that stair to make it conform to fire requirements. So we've already taken care of that with the building department. And then we're adding this second group of bathrooms here with an office for the manager's office. And then this is the stair that people who would use this space would come up this way, and that's the emergency way out. This is the shape of the banquet room roof with our circular skylight.
What's that space now? That's nothing?
This space now,
Yes.
it was, you have to ask Mr. Bahantori what it was. It was, I think it was office spaces?
It was an office or a meeting room.
Yeah.
On the second floor.
Yeah.
On the second floor,
Which means that it wouldn't count.
above the kitchen.
As long as it wasn't used for like mechanical equipment or anything like that, it would have counted already.
I believe you're right, yeah. When the last time I was there, it was a construction office. So. So this is our elevations. Again, this is without the courtyard, so you can see how the doors work there. We have this repeated circular door and windows.
Jim,
shape.
before you leave that sheet, identify for the record the sheet.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's A104. And then A105 is partial elevations, basically of the banquet room as you go around to the right from the parking lot and to the back street.
Sheet number?
That's A105, kind of. Then this sheet is what faces Route 34. And this is our banquet room with the windows above, and we have additional decorative lights. This is the trellis that was supposed to be built, and we're going to be putting that trellis up. And this is the one where we're going to have the retractable awning over the top of it. Currently, there's individual awnings over each window.
That's the existing pergola area
That's correct.
that was approved at the last application.
That's correct. But I have to file for the permit to put up the trellis, so. And then this is our garbage enclosure. So it actually has an enclosed room for the bulk trash, and then there's actually a screen-in area for the cans for recyclables, and the operation of that is Mr. Bahandorian's baby, so I guess he can explain how that works for you. And this is basically a sheet that tells you the seating arrangement in the place and how many seats there will be in the restaurant. So the total seats in the addition are 94. The total proposed combined seating for the whole place would be 234. I believe I could see that.
Was the basement mechanical and wine storage, or what's in the basement?
The basement is basically under this section of the building, right here. And it is employee areas, wine storage, coolers, some storage, lots of mechanicals. I did not do the basement. That was Mr. Kajuba who did that during an earlier phase of the project. But that's what's down there. Yeah. So he knows the calculation actually better than I do. So just so you know, the occupancy of the upper room over the kitchen area is 20 occupants. So that's a little bigger party.
Did he tell us the actual size? Like, what's the dimension?
And those are not ADA accessible. The second floor is not.
No, well, we do have a new code coming out, so I'm not really sure where that's going, but currently in the code now, it's not required because of the size of the space, and we can also provide the same service on the first floor. Yeah.
Okay. Jim, any other design features you want to express to the board or explain to the board?
Not at this moment. I just take questions and do my best to answer.
Chairman, I have no other direct questions right now for Mr. Montefort.
Anybody have any questions for the architect?
Thank you.
No? Okay.
I could probably give you the heights of the things too, just so you know. We don't go over anything, but this front area is 27 foot 6 inches high to the peak, and then the banquet room to the top of the skylight is 24 foot
And
2.
you're saying you can only get 62 seats
No,
in the new banquet room?
I'm sorry, 62 seats, yeah.
You can't really, that's a baby shower, that's it, there's no wedding.
It's a small banquet room, is what it is.
The picture showed more seats.
Huh? No, they're rectangle tables of 8, and then one square one of 6, and there are no round tables.
Well, that's just our layout, but we didn't do, there might be more round tables in the area and not rectangular tables. I'm not really sure
And why
what he's doing, but that's our occupancy load.
Why, like in front of the coat room or like in front of the bar, there can't be any more seats?
Well, the bar's a service bar.
So underneath so where you have the words "new banquet room," what is that what would be on the floor there?
This is a dance floor. In the center, that's a dance floor.
Okay.
I see, yeah.
Let me just see what you
Within
did.
the parking.
Yeah, she added up 7, 8 plus 6, 62.
We definitely could add more seating in there.
So that's not like that's just what's proposed here, that's not like a
That's what he is proposing. That's not a code allowable.
Does it have anything to do with the amount of parking that that's available outside the structure?
No, because it was done on the square footage.
Yeah, the I was about to say that the parking calculation is based on square footage, exclusively, it's not based on seating.
This area is more like 100 people can go in there.
We said
It's like 15.
The professional planners in the room.
15 square foot per
The professional party planners knew that was the wrong number.
Well, however, for the professional party planners, Mr. Bahadorian uses valet. No, seriously, there's a valet at
It
the
doesn't matter
restaurant.
how many spots you have. There you go. Getting out in front anyway, I get dropped off. Yeah. All right. Any other questions for?
Yeah, so if you want to have 100 people, I guess you can bring them over.
Thank you. For the record.
I don't know.
So the limits are proposed.
It's-
I guess it's a situation where, it doesn't control anything on the board, the board's
All right,
really
just made up a number.
jurisdiction.
Just was
How
curious.
much-
that-
how much-
No, I had the same thought.
All of the other seating was based on what's actually there. We
Yeah.
just,
No, that I know. I've
How
been
much
inside.
staff do you anticipate here, in addition to patrons?
staff?
Like 40?
Restaurants? During the week, it depends. During the week, we're not too busy, maybe 3 servers, but on the weekend, we'll need about 12. 10, 12.
Sometimes
For the
they have-
record, that was Mr.
Sometimes they have guest
Bahadorian.
bartenders too.
Well, I'm just thinking like, if you fill up 234 seats and if instead you got 100 and it's really more like 270 and you've got 30, you could run short on parking.
Well, not if there's a party, what we've been told is that if there's a party, they have valet.
Oh, and they valet them, and where do they park their cars? Off-site?
Even for dinner. On Sunday night, I was there, and the valet was in service.
So,
The
Oh, they
parking
park
service.
off-site?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
it's.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine.
The numbers don't work out with the way the ordinance is structured. And that's the thing, I think that their traffic, that was a question that I had for their traffic sharing member, is just, whether there will be an increase in operations, things like that with the new proposal.
Okay.
Not relevant to the application, but is the restaurant going to remain open during construction, or are you closing it for a period of time?
It'll be open.
Too much money was spent in that place to close it.
As
It's been closed a long
the
time.
How long
last
will the
approval
construction
was
take?
2015, and it
How
took
long will the
several years
construction
to
take?
get it up to go, and then we had the pandemic, so it's been slow to go, but you will enjoy it when you go.
Do you have an idea of, one of the questions was, how long will construction take? Do any of your professionals have an idea about that?
Well, we're going to do it in 3 phases. The small room above the bathroom is, they already designed it to be small.
Rich, come on up to the microphone. This is Richard Bahadorian, the property owner and the restaurant operator.
We'll do it in 3 phases, not to disturb the restaurant, because we can't close the restaurant again. It's so hard to get people, and it would never do that. So there's a small room above the bathrooms. It's really nice for small pharmaceutical dinners. It really helps us out in the middle of the week. Small little parties, dinner parties. It's going to have a fireplace, beams. It's going to be very attractive. The room in the back.
Similar to your room down in Fairhaven, the upstairs room that looks...
In Nauvoo?
Yeah.
And the Raven and the...
Yeah, something like that, yes. Look like that.
Thank you.
And
The name of the restaurant was escaping me.
Raven.
I was
Nauvoo
going
Grill.
Frog in the Peach, and that wasn't right, but go ahead.
Raven and Peach?
Raven in the Peach, yeah.
Yeah,
But do
the
you have one
rooms are-
upstairs too for that? Yes.
Same thing.
Okay.
And the room that's existing in the back that we're going to convert to dining if we can, that's going to have beams, a beautiful fireplace again with the lions. All the fireplaces have lions, and it's going to be very attractive. So that'll be for showers, a little bit bigger than the other room, 25 people, 30 people. We do a lot of showers, baby showers, bridal showers. It's very important to us. In fine dining, it's important that we have parties because it's hard to make our ends meet. Fine dining restaurants cost so much to run, and we don't have mass volume like other restaurants. People seem to sit a long time. So when you hear about the amount of people other restaurants do, we won't be half that. We're lucky if we can turn over some tables because people sit a long time, like to enjoy it. It's a special occasion restaurant, and it helps. And by having the banquet rooms, it helps us financially to make our ends meet, and we can keep. I want to be fine dining with not being very expensive, and we plan on during the week we're going to have another menu. It's called From the Grill, and everything in that will be a smaller affair. And it'll be under $30 each item, so people could bring their families there.
Huh.
Because what normally happens on fine dining with the Raven and Peach, we're very busy on Saturday, and then during the week we're slow. So we had a thing when we had the Raven and Peach we called the petite portion, and that was kind of popular. So we're going to do this. It's going to be called From the Grill, and very comfort food, little small portions, but I don't think people want to eat a lot during the week. And the back banquet room is going to look like a miniature of the front with the fireplace, the beams and all. And the bigger banquet room on the first floor, we were going to put a big one on the second floor. We had a hard time fitting in an elevator and making it look well. So this way it'll be handicap accessible. It's a beautiful design. He did a wonderful design. As he mentioned, the roof, the glass roof, I think is 20 feet in diameter roughly, and it's made by a company in California called Rollomatic. They made a roof for us 30 years ago called the Peachtree that opened with a motor. So the roof will open 180 degrees. Wow. It opened at night. It's just beautiful. People applaud when they see it. That's a small banquet room, but it'll be nice. And what's interesting about that room is we don't have to build a cocktail room or bar. If suppose you're having a party at 5 o'clock or something on a Saturday night, you come to the main entrance, use the existing lounge we have now for cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and the outside patio, weather permitting. And then there's a double French doors. You go out the double French doors in an enclosed hallway about 18 feet long, and there's the banquet room. So it's really ideal. We have we don't have to build, there's a beautiful cocktail lounge so we can have hors d'oeuvres. And then once they go there, we clean it up real quick, vacuum it and all that, and then we're set up for Saturday night or Friday night.
So there's no bar in the banquet room?
There's a small one for service. People don't sit at it, but that's where the waitresses get the drinks to bring it to the table.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And 2 bathrooms, nice bathrooms. And we have 2 kitchens in the main restaurant. We have the front kitchen does the a la carte, and we put a banquet kitchen in. We took a chance in doing it because we can't put it in later. So it's already established. So we don't need a kitchen, and there's a little hallway they designed to go to the banquet room with the food. So all we need is this the ballroom. And it's a beautiful design with the beams. They go towards the center with a round beam. It's going to be really, really pretty. And I think,
Rich? Yeah. You have a timeline on construction?
Timeline?
Yes, about the timeline.
We'll do one at a time and get it done. So we're not going to close.
It's the Bob-Majorian timeline.
The one in the back above the kitchen will be easy. We don't care about the noise in the kitchen. The big one in the parking lot, we won't disturb the restaurant at all. It's separate from the restaurant. The one above the bathrooms will be a little difficult. We have to, that has to go up real quick and be waterproof really quick.
Which one's first?
Can we start at the back? I have 2 kids
Probably
who just
the
got
one that-
engaged and, I
So
got
with-
parties and bridal showers coming up. If you start at the back one, then I could be one of your first clients.
Are you getting married?
Oh, no. I am currently married, and I would never do it again, even though my husband's absolutely fabulous. I have 2 children that are getting married.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we at the Nauvoo, we do like 3 or 4 showers a week.
Oh, I didn't even think of it.
That-
I will tell the mother of the bride all about it.
I think logically to do the back first because it's already there, and so without just doing the inside, but I have to have the staircase and all. Yeah, that's a little difficult. He designed ways brilliant that you don't have to. Before you had to walk through the kitchen and go up to that room. Now, when you walk to the big ballroom, there's a little foyer greeting area, and you can either go to ballroom or go up to the steps to this small room or go to the laboratories. It's a nice design.
Your passion for this new phase is palpable, so thank you for doing that and
Sure.
bringing it to our attention. I'm sure we're all looking forward
Great.
to
I
it.
do have our professional planner. Which one you should have? Okay. And any other questions for Mr. Montefiore?
Nope.
Then I'd like to call Andrew, I'm sorry, Kate?
Kate's good.
I would like
no
to call-
questions from Mr. Bowdorian? Everybody's good? Yes. All right, thank you,
Well,
sir.
he's not going anywhere, and
No, I know, but
be happy to talk further.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
So I would call Andrew Janu.
Thank you, sir. Okay, need some more yellow stickies.
Good evening.
Andrew, would you let the board know your licensing and your professional experience?
Certainly. My name is Andrew Janu, Janiw. I am a licensed professional planner, and I'm a principal in the firm of Beacon Planning and Consulting Services. We're located at 315 Highway 34 in Colts Neck. In terms of credentials, I have a bachelor's and master's degree in civil engineering from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, currently serving as the planner for the borough of Carteret and the township of Livingston, as well as redevelopment advisor to South Amboy, Toms River, Flemington, Jersey City, Hoboken, and
How'd you get to
Freehold Borough. Freehold Borough. I have been licensed for the past 20 plus years. Been practicing here in Monmouth County primarily. In
I'm
terms
going to
of
offer to
purposing-
Mr. Janu, who's an expert in the field.
I think you've been here before.
And I have been before this and the planning board here.
All right, so Andy, you had a chance to look at the project, and you have a few issues, boards, and like to present your the justification for the variances and particularly describe the proposed second sign.
Absolutely. So from a planning perspective, this is somewhat self-explanatory if I can walk us through some of the exhibits that I've prepared. So this is an aerial of the property.
A4.
I have 2 photo boards as well, which I'll be introducing.
Okay, yes, so we'll take those. I will leave those here for you. So A5, and just describe each of them as you put them up.
Sure.
So A5 and A6 ready to go.
Great, thank you. So A4 is an aerial depiction. This is an aerial dated 2021, but it's very much the current conditions of the property. As you can see, the facility is located just north of the intersection of 34 and 520 at the intersection of Pleasant Valley Way. Pleasant Valley Way here is a no left turn from 34, so no traffic is going into that. The access to the property is located up here. And the issue in terms of what Mr. Bahadorian was mentioning was that traffic coming north doesn't see the building well because this is very well landscaped. And quite frankly, there's no signage here until you get past that intersection to know that passed in it. And our own traffic engineer drove past it. We were talking about that today. So what we're trying to do is to reestablish an identity at this location here to let people know that they're at the facility and they should be looking for the signage. In terms of what that looks like from Highway 34, the series of photographs that I have here. Now this is looking along the frontage along 34, and you can see that the facility has shrubs This is a patio.
Let's
Oh, I'm
clarify.
sorry, A5.
Referring to
Yes.
A5 in
Referring
evidence.
to A5. My apologies.
I was waiting for.
So there's shrubbery along 34, there are mature trees along 34, there's a patio behind here, and that's intended to create some privacy, but it also creates something as traffic's going by, there's a 50-mile-an-hour zone that you might miss. Quite frankly, right now, the only sign that's out there that even tells you you're coming up on it is a now hiring sign. This is the entrance to the property
People
along
seem to ignore
34.
those these days anyway.
Yes, they do. So these are now looking both north-south directions of the entrance. So this is now looking north at the entrance, and the sign that's there today is actually right here. So you're right about trimming the shrubs. They do need, we talked about that when we walked the site. But the sign is afterwards. It's also of a coloration that
It's the
during
same
the
color
daytime.
as the shrubs, yes.
Right. And now this is looking south at that same intersection, and you can see very easy to pass by without some kind of a distinction. So on the back of A5, 2 additional photographs. This is the proposed signage at the intersection of Pleasant Valley Way and 34, an approximate location. So as you're coming north, you'll see the sign here. That's a close-up of it. We walked off the sign. That's roughly.
Andy, why don't you turn the sign a little so the board members to
I'm
your
sorry.
left can see it?
The sign is very nice. I don't think you see it though on the other.
Right, and it's identical to the other
See it,
sign.
yeah.
It's identical to the other sign, both in size and coloration.
Yeah.
So it's the same size as the existing sign?
Yes.
Do you have those dimensions offhand?
So
I probably have them.
I estimated when I was there, it's approximately 7 feet long. About, the box itself is about 36 to 39 inches, and it has that small arch across the top.
But the other sign is significantly off the ground.
The other sign is, I'm estimating somewhere between 40, 48 inches off the ground. It has shrubs below.
If it was previously, we'll have the dimensions in the records somewhere.
And this is intended, again, to be low.
Oh, of course, yes.
And that's relative approximate to the location. And that sign would be about 1 foot off the property line, but about 25 feet off the curb line, as was testified to. But we do believe it's situated at such a point where traffic now is looking towards that. It sees a building, it sees a sign, it can identify what that building is, and hopefully identify that they're looking for an entrance to the property.
And you'll have a spotlight on that as well?
My understanding is that will be ground lit, yes.
Sorry, just a clarification. I'm looking at the prior resolution. The existing sign, it says it was approved at 54.3 square feet. That sounds a lot larger.
That is a lot larger. This is under 40, I'm guessing somewhere around 30
I was going to
maybe.
say this other sign looked, it sounded, and I'm driving past it at 50 miles an hour, so I could be wrong, but it seemed much bigger to me than.
Yes,
than the-
yes, no, the recollection of all the groundskeepers there was that the other sign was much larger.
Oh, so it is larger.
No,
This is
one
small, this is smaller.
Right, so it's, okay, I thought you said it was the same size.
No, it's the same size as the sign that's on the north of the axis, the other sign that's on the property, along the frontage. There's another Polo Club sign that's there today.
Right, I think that's,
Closer to 520, the one is going, the other is.
According to this, sorry.
the other one is bigger.
Yes, according to this resolution of approval from 2015, the sign in the northeast corner of the property, the existing Polo Club sign, not the prior Pleasant Valley and Remington, et cetera, sign, is 54.3 square feet. And I think what.
I'm wondering if that's not both sides.
That's not how we measure them.
Unless it's the entirety of its height also, because it's high off the ground, it's a good size off the ground.
Yeah.
How.
I don't
Possibly,
have
yeah.
I can't get it on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It's not
typically
showing
not
up.
how the township measures signs. It's not supposed to include
Well,
I would just, I think we'll just ask for a, just.
Regardless
We
of
can get
the
your dimension.
size, the intent here is to be a low-mounted sign so
Right.
that it catches.
And this sign, regardless of what the other size sign
Yes.
is, this one you said is.
Yeah, I walked it off and did a rough measurement on it, so it's about 7 feet long. The box is roughly 36, 39 inches tall.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll say estimated size, this sign is about 22 to 25 square feet.
Yeah, the arch is a little bit larger, it's about 28 square feet.
Thank you.
And basically, that photograph is also showing the sign at about the height they want to put it.
Mhm.
Because It's easy for everyone to see coming through that intersection.
Yeah, it's not very far off the ground.
Correct.
And in fact, that photograph puts it in at or about the exact location you want to place it.
That's what we tried to basically walk off
You
while
see
we
it
were
very
there.
well in the close-up. When you look at it from, I guess, were you standing across the street in front of the auto body?
Yes, exactly.
There it is. That's it.
Right, so Andy, in addition to that, did you study the variances?
Yes.
Can you offer any justifications to the board to grant the requested variance?
So we are seeking tonight 3 variances. One for the setback on the sign that's up on the board. 1 foot is proposed where 25 feet is required, but again, we talked about that's really 25 feet from the curb line, 1 foot from the property line because we have a truncated property line there. We're also asking for a setback variance to the banquet addition along Pleasant Valley Road. A 50-foot setback is required. 12.71 is proposed at the closest corner. The building is a little bit of a sawtooth. The closest point to Pleasant Valley will be 12.71. I have some photographs just to
Just before we leave the sign, what's it made out of? Wood?
It's actually more of a polymer.
Okay.
Mr. Badorian. It's not a wood carved sign, but it's a polymer that mimics a wood carving. Yeah.
Okay.
It's carved like wood, but it's not wood.
Okay.
It's like that stuff on your deck.
And now this one will be A6?
A6, correct.
It's the pictures from the Pleasant Valley Road
From
side.
Pleasant Valley Road. So
Andy, A4, 5, and 6, you took those photographs?
I did.
And these are accurately depict what you photographed?
Correct. These 4 are dated the 14th of October. This is the area where the banquet hall will attach to the building.
Mm-hmm.
This is the existing trash enclosure. What we're proposing is a trash enclosure that will be rotated 90 degrees. It won't open towards Pleasant Valley Road. It'll have a landscape screening along it, so you won't have this view from Pleasant Valley. It'll be more of a shrub line, and the trucks will come in from the side. They won't come in directly in off of Pleasant Valley. This is a view down Pleasant Valley, which I wanted to show everyone how well landscaped the opposite side of the road is, and this is actually the closest residence directly across the street from where the banquet hall is, and you can see there's a lot of existing. Let me hold this up for everyone.
It's already pretty close to the road.
The home is very close, and it's very well landscaped.
No, the building.
Oh, that portion of the building is significantly closer than what's proposed. That's correct.
It's probably why it gets smashed into sometimes.
We hope not too often.
That's why that's what the sign was made of. Maybe it could slow down the motorists. Right, Mr. Bardorian, you've had it hit a couple of times, the building.
What did I do?
The building got hit a couple of, you didn't do anything.
No,
You
he
just
said, was
owned
that
the-
you?
No, it's just me picking the people up.
You know, the interesting thing is there's no left turn, so anyone coming past that building going that direction is coming out of the auto body shop.
Not for long.
Did you indicate that the service trucks come in from Pleasant Valley Road to the site?
I didn't.
Yes, the engineer did.
Oh.
So, but they're coming. Well, yeah, they're coming from the south side. That's true. There's no left turn, so they're coming through the parking lot. Yeah, they can make a right turn. They can't make a left turn.
All right, so they come down that
Right.
way. Okay.
Right. So the other variance that we're seeking then is a setback to the trash enclosure where 50 feet is required and 15 feet is proposed at the nearest. But
That's the existing condition.
that's an existing condition. We're just rotating that and landscaping that. So those are the 3 variances that are sought. We are seeking to justify those under the C criteria, which I'll get to in a moment. However, understanding that any variance relief can't be just for the benefit of an applicant, we did have to look at whether any of the purposes of the municipal land use law would be advanced by the variances that are sought, and I believe that there are 4. And for the record, the 4 sections of the MLUL that would be promoted by this application would be to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses in open space, both public and private, according to their respective requirements in order to meet the needs of citizens. This is a B2 zone, zone. It's a business that's existing, and we're seeking to enhance. To encourage the design and location of transportation routes, which promote the free flow of traffic while discouraging location of facilities and routes that result in congestion or blight. That goes to the placement of the signage and promoting easier access to the site to avoid what's happening today with people passing by that access and having to pull a U-turn to come back. We believe this promotes a safer traffic flow. I is to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Mr. Montefort presented what I believe is going to be a very attractive plan and upgrading of this facility, as well as some additions to the property that'll not only help the business sustain, but that'll create opportunities for things like fresh herbs that'll be used in, kind of almost a farm-to-table concept. So we believe that's appropriate. And finally, to encourage the coordination of various public and private procedures and activities shaping land use. In this case, we have an existing facility. We're not building new. We're adding on to an existing facility in order to help that facility sustain. It's quite frankly, going through that, it's magnificent inside, and I've been back there as far as Remington goes, and I think what's being proposed is going to be magnificent, and what's there today is certainly going to be a gem for the community. We also look to your master plan. Your master plan absolutely seeks to stabilize ratables, to promote business along the business corridors. This is on point with those proposals that were both reiterated in 2004 and carried through the master plan reexaminations through today. Which brings us to the C relief. As the board knows, there are two types of measurements in terms of C. There's the C1, which is the hardship, meaning that there's a condition that's existing on the site that creates something that we can't really plan around. And the C2 is the balance test, meaning the benefits outweigh the detriments. With respect to the setbacks, I would qualify that both under the C1 or C2. The setbacks of the banquet room and the trash enclosure are somewhat set by existing structures that are already on site, by the configuration of the building, by the need to marry the banquet facility to the building at certain points for kitchen access, for corridor access, for plumbing access, and the like. But I'd also present to the board that this is a better alternative in terms of the balance test because we are taking an existing trash enclosure, we're turning it, we're screening it. It'll be a more suitable visual impact from Pleasant Valley Road. And with respect to the banquet facility, it's an area that's already paved. It's going to create something that's very attractive in terms of addition and something that'll help the business sustain itself. So I believe when we look at the balance test, the benefits outweigh the detriments. We're not creating anything that's going to be a significant nuisance to here. It's well managed. It's well controlled. It's in a business zone. It's not going to create excessive noise. It's not going to impact drainage. The traffic and parking can be handled, and Mr. Bahadourian creates valet parking, which diminishes any of the major impacts that we would have in terms of phenomenally successful, which is what we hope this will be. And then finally, with the signage, we would qualify that under the C2 criteria because I do believe the placement of the sign where it's proposed will be a significant benefit to the traffic that's coming northbound on Route 34 in terms of identifying the building and creating any conflicts in terms of having to do U-turns. There's not going to be any detriment to the placement of this signage. It's on the site. It is closer than to the property line than permitted, but it is 25 feet off the curb line, meeting the intent of the ordinance. It will be downlit, but certainly the purpose of that sign is for a cause that I think warrants the slight visual impact that it will have along traffic. And I believe on balance that these variances can be granted without detriment to the public, without detriment to your zone plan, without detriment to your master plan, and it would be a good addition to the property.
Does anybody have any questions for the planner?
Thank you.
One more thing, because there were some comments about traffic. I have Mr. Ray here to talk about the suitability of the lot, the handicap spaces, and particularly the pickup area for the trash and the load and unload. Here he is. John,
He's been before us several times. We're just.
I have, and I did get sworn in, that's right.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're sworn in, you've been accepted as an expert.
John Ray, REA, principal with McDonough & Ray Associates, Manasquan, New Jersey. I'm a traffic engineer.
There
Okay.
Issues of the
well,
handicap spaces.
Well, we have 6 handicap spaces, which, as Mr. Kashuba indicated, is one more than we currently have today. It does meet the requirements of the ADA, so we've taken care of that. One question I think Kate wanted answered was, will there be an increase in traffic because of the banquet facilities? And the answer is yes. The NJDOT, which has jurisdiction over the Route 34 curb cut, does have traffic generation numbers for banquet facilities. It's based on the number of seats, and based on the 62 seats that we're adding, we are going to generate approximately an additional 20 peak hour trips. Some of them might come off Pleasant Valley Road, but in a worst case scenario, that all 20 additional trips would come on and off Route 34. I believe we qualify for a letter of no interest for the curb cut on Route 34 because the threshold for when you need a new permit is when you generate 100 or more peak hour trips to the state highway. We're going to be well below that threshold, so we're going to qualify for a letter of no interest. With respect to the trash enclosure, there's been previous testimony from Mr. Kashuba on that. We have a loading area off of Pleasant Valley Road, which the refuse truck can pull into. We're going to have roll-off cans that can be taken down to the refuse truck. That's all going to be handled off the roadway with no incursion into the travelway on Pleasant Valley Road. So I believe it'll operate safely and efficiently. And that's about it.
You satisfied there's adequate parking?
More than adequate parking. And as I was listening to the number of seats, I think we have 234 total, if I'm not mistaken. One of the other, of course, your ordinance is based on the square footage, and 83 spaces are required. We have 109. One of the other very commonly used parking ratios for a restaurant or a banquet facility is 1 parking space for every 3 seats. And if we were to do the math that way, we would need 78 spaces, if I'm not mistaken. We've got 109. We're overparked a little bit, but I don't consider that to be a bad condition.
I have no other questions for Mr. Ray.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Seeing none? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yurko.
Thank you, John. That's our presentation, Mr. Chairman, and I think that what we tried to do here was to explain what the intent and purpose of the application is, our client's intention and his vision for the restaurant, and then to address the issues for the variance and particularly for traffic. The most important aspect of this, in my opinion, is the location of the second sign to eliminate folks having to go past the restaurant, loop through the Comfort Care or the care facility a few hundred yards north and loop back through there. So I think there's a very positive, I think it's an excellent addition, and I'm sure you've all been to one of Mr. Bahadorian's restaurants, but if you haven't, you should try it. You'll enjoy it. In the meantime, I'm going to ask that the board approve this application. I think we've met all of our proofs and standards, and it meets the purpose and intent of this zone, and it certainly will be an enhancement, of course, in my view, as all my clients, I think, are, but it would be an enhancement for this particular portion of the community, and I think he's going to get a lot of business from Colts Neck as the refugees from Huddies will seek the Polo Club.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to ask the board to vote in favor of this application.
Okay. Do we have any more comments or questions from the board? Seeing as the one member of the public left, I don't think that there are no questions from the public or comments. So I need a motion to approve the application as presented with the whatever's needed in the completeness waivers to be submitted, as well as, I'm sorry?
And all the variances.
And all the variances.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, Ron?
You beat me, Don.
Okay. Roll call, please. Spreading the wealth.
Mr. Eckerson?
Yes.
Ms. Alfieri Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Emma?
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein?
Yes.
Mr. Kastner?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Clusis?
Yes.
And Chairperson DeMassa.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have a grand opening, remember us, because some of us won't be here next year, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You have till December
Right.
31st.
Yes.
Well, that makes it
We expect a free.
That's either a benefit or
You were on the board.
But there was no conflict.
Okay. When are you going to Florida?
Not for a while.
Oh, okay. I hope Greg's doing okay.
He's doing much better. Thanks, I'll tell him he said hi.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, John, is this yours?
Me and Ron.
Tom, That's it. That would
The site
entail intelligence.
Anything that was marked. If it was marked, it was okay. If you don't mind, I will help this board.
I have no idea.
New secretary.
2 more left, it's November 1st and December 6th. Unless we call a special meeting, that's fine.
Next we have the resolution for Latrell.
Okay, item 4. Item 4 is a memorializing resolution for Latrell on minor subdivision. Blocks 18.08, lot 27.01, otherwise known as 121 Highway 34. This proposed subdivision of 2.422 acres in the R40A zone into 2 new lots, one for the existing dwelling and one for the existing sign improvements to remain, one new building lot. The existing dwelling to remain will also be renovated and improved. The resolution was circulated among the professionals and the applicant, and it was accepted by them, and it was circulated to us, so I need a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
I would just note that only there's 4 members who are on this, which is Mr. Emma, Dr. Gilstein, Mr. Cassidy, and Mr. King.
I do have one question. And it applies to any application. Where the applicant is also the attorney representing himself, should he or she be sworn in?
Well, in this case, it's an LLC, so he can technically represent the LLC as the attorney. If he was a solo, if he owned the property in his own name, and he had a if he's testifying as the owner, he should be sworn in.
Got it. Thank you.
So there's a slight distinction. So I think in this case, he was representing the LLC technically.
Which he owns.
Yes. So my comments are his comments, not testimony as the attorney. Just like we do for anybody, like tonight, I'll reference that Mr. Junko made certain comments to preface the application. So make sure he's.
Thank you.
You were absent for this, were you not?
Yeah.
You were there?
Who chaired the meeting?
Rookie mistake.
Mr. King, I thought.
No.
Was I looking at this wrong?
It would either be me or Serena.
Did you chair the meeting? Oh, okay. All right. I remember seeing him sitting here, that's why was he here before and
He
we?
was here for completeness on a separate night.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yes, no, look, I was like, I swear the video does not lead me astray.
Yes, and Tom and I don't resemble each other,
Yes,
so.
both of you were absent and Mr. King chaired the meeting that evening.
Okay. All right, well then, I need a motion by.
I'll move.
Okay, thank you.
Ron.
I'm one of the.
Second.
Second by Ron, and so, Mr. Emma,
Yes.
Dr. Gilstein.
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy,
Yes, well written, thank you.
and Mr. King.
Yes.
Okay.
That was 4
And we
o'clock.
have 2 sets of minutes to be approved, July 19th, 2022. Can I have a motion to adopt as presented? Everybody was present, right?
I was not present on September 6th, so I have to do it separate.
That's why I didn't take them together.
Shall I?
Tom, make a motion to adopt.
Is there?
Hold on one moment, I will just confirm.
Correct, you would abstain from the other.
We will be carrying the September 6th one to the next hearing. Let me just confirm.
It's your one absence.
We gotta talk about everything.
I'm going to keep talking about it. Going to keep bringing it up. Oh, you were absent.
I wasn't there at the 19th.
Yes. Mr. Lucarelli was absent, Ms. Plusas was absent, and Ms. O'Connor was absent. So,
Okay.
Jeff's making a motion to, Mr. Axon's making the motion to.
I would like to
adopt.
make a motion to accept the minutes
Thank you, Mr. Eckert.
for July 19th meeting.
Second.
Fury Collins is going to second.
Yes, second.
Good. Well done.
Everybody's in on the story tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, Planning Board Planners Report. Planning Board Planner Secretary, woman of many.
Yes,
Hats.
I will put on my secretary hat just for this moment. Next meeting is scheduled for November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any applications ready to go. I would ask the board if we could have an abbreviated meeting that night. We have an applicant coming to the TRC next week that I anticipate will be for an administrative approval. We also have the Mumford resolution and as well as several minutes just to, I just like to get, we can
Sure.
get caught up. So that would be the November 1st meeting.
Mhm.
All we would need would be a quorum, and that would be 2 weeks from tonight.
Mhm.
And then the last meeting of the year is December 6th.
Mhm.
As of now, Heavenly Estates has asked for that.
Oh my
As you are
gosh.
aware,
Again?
well, as you're aware, we have not heard anything formal from them, and they will have to renotice. They'll have to get anything to us with plenty of time for us all to review it, and they will have to renotice. So that is tentative, and but we do also have a minor subdivision at 748 Holmdel Road that I anticipate will be ready to go on,
Okay.
on December 6th. So that's the schedule for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Crazy.
You should be happy it's very late.
Okay, so that was your secretary's report. Do you have a planner's report?
Do not have a planner.
Okay.
I have a question for the plan.
Yes,
Oh, God,
yes.
here we go again. All right, so at one point, there was an objective to have our master plan for open space and recreation done by the end of the year, which, as I understand it, requires 2 public meetings as part of the planning board meetings.
Yes.
So are we expecting to do that on November 1st and December 6th, or are we going to delay the completion of the plan?
I would say that there is a possibility of having a draft presentation on December 6th. It will not be formally adopted by the end of the year.
Okay, so,
That also does
All right.
require some feedback
All
from
right.
Green Acres as well.
so that would be a pretty packed agenda then for December 6th, if we're going to have a draft presentation on that.
If Heavenly Estates submits.
Okay.
I would say to get on.
If you wanted to have it done by this year, we would have to call a special meeting, or that won't, even a special meeting wouldn't help.
We're not going to have it.
Okay, just asking.
No,
Well,
because
that's
we
something
would get feedback.
Sal's the attorney for Heavenly, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's got me out.
Right, no, but for the master plan, for the open space and recreation plan, even if I have a draft ready tomorrow, I really won't, but before we adopt it, there's a I didn't know this at first, there is a feedback process through the state to make sure that you meet all of their Green Acres requirements, is my understanding, so that way it's a little out of our schedule, that way,
No, that's fine, I just didn't want,
Okay,
if
just
we could
wanted
help
to-
by having a meeting so we could get it done, we would do that.
Right.
That is not, yes,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But,
Thank you for bringing
so
we
if
also-
we intend to do that,
Yes.
we should like map it onto one of the planned meetings.
Yes, I would say.
And because it's something you have to notice the public, so that they know if they want to say their piece, that's when they need to come.
Absolutely, yes. I would say there may be a tentative, particularly if Heavenly Estates does not go forward on the 6th, which again, we will know. Like, I would, I can't speak for Bob's office, but I would like at least a couple weeks with that. If they've resubmitted and they make big changes, so we'll know in the next, 2 weeks if they're going to go
Because by
forward
then
on the
they'll
6th.
be up for reorganization after that.
Yeah, right, so then you won't have me to
So,
vote.
but there is a possibility that on the 6th, we could have one of the public sessions for open space and recreation plan, but which would be noticed far in advance, at least a couple weeks in advance. But it would not be anything related to adoption or anything like that. So,
Okay, because we still don't have a member of the planning board on that committee. No member of the planning board has participated in any of that recreation stuff.
No, I'm on the advisory group.
Oh, you did get put on? Oh, okay. Oh, really?
And Jeff.
Nobody told me.
Nobody invited me.
Nobody, well,
Just like your home, just nobody.
There will be a lot more outreach.
oh, because you had asked me, and I suggested it, but I never heard anything else, so, well, I'm glad that that worked out, because
Yeah.
I'm like, how is she going forward? Nobody from here is on.
You guys don't matter.
No,
Just the
no,
rest.
Jeff's on.
So,
You'll be hearing a lot more about this in many other public channels.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's my report for the rest of the year. So,
Okay.
I hope. Bob, you have anything for us?
oh, thank you.
Nothing.
All righty, so I need a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty, thank you.
Okay.
You can turn it